What is up? Welcome back to the Nothing is Wrong podcast. Today we are joined by Matt from Chroma, and you're about to find out all about Chroma. But first and foremost, Matt, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm stoked.
Me too, man. So for anyone that doesn't know, Chroma is we'll get into it, but it's a light brand. I feel like a light company, red light therapy devices, UV light, all the things. And I think circadian biology and all the things has been a huge part of like my own obsessions. And dude, I think a lot of people just they hear red light therapy. They don't realize that the sunlight gives you red light therapy.
Right.
They don't even know what it is. They're just like,
No,
oh, red light
100%.
therapy? Like, will that get me jacked or lose body fat? Like, they don't, depending where they're at. But anyways, do you want to just give a quick intro on like who you are and what Chroma is all about?
Sure. Yeah. I'm Matt. I've been running Chroma for the last 6, coming up on 7 years now. Chroma is really, it's what you said, right? Is the natural human condition is to be outside, to like be absorbing sunlight. It tells us we're awake, tells us we're alive, that we should be, thriving and just like experiencing the world. And then when the sun sets, you get that darkness signal, and that's time to sleep. Really, modern life has just disconnected people from natural cycles, from sunlight in general. We're spending most of our days inside, and that's really what we set out to fix. Our devices capture the most important aspects of sunlight, or arguably the most important aspects of sunlight, bring them into your workspace, bring them into your life in different forms, and just generally the goal is just to reconnect people with nature, reconnect your circadian rhythm to back to what it should be, really.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Yeah, and I think it's so important, like the balance, right? I have a health and fitness coaching company, and it's such a large part of what we do is, hey, yeah, processed food, if it's making up your whole diet, isn't going to be good for you, right? That being said, so many people go the direction of all they focus is on like this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, get away from it. And I see the way you approach the light side as very similar in that it's like, okay, let's accept that this isn't great. Like staring at blue light in bed or having all these artificial lights isn't great. However, what can we focus on getting more of to really buffer the negatives that come with this environment we all live in? And like in my world, let's focus on more protein and more whole foods and getting more natural single ingredient foods in before we hyper obsess over cutting these other things out. And I think the way you approach the light therapy side is like, let's not just, not everybody can go move to the woods and live like a monk. It's like, what can we add to our work environment? If you work a 9 to 5, what can we add first to realign us? But yeah, so
No, I agree completely on that. It's really moving from. I think a lot of the health and wellness advice out there is kind of comes from a fear-based mindset of like everything's trying to kill you. You got microplastics in your
yes.
balls. Like it's it's like you can't realistically get away from everything. And so I think we kind of take the opposite approach. Is like, what is abundance? What is like, what are the things you can do that move you one step closer to nature in and we focus, on light environment, but you touched on diet. Like it's all connected.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it, dude. Yeah, let's be practical. and then you kind of get the best of both worlds, really. So maybe let's start with kind of the basics around circadian rhythms and light as a signal to your health. I first got introduced to that through, as probably most people, Andrew Huberman, like 10 years ago, like when that was all he talked about was light in your eyes in the morning, light in your eyes in the morning, light in your eyes in the morning. But, if there's like kind of a crash course 101 benefits of aligning your light environment, how would you break that down?
Yeah. I guess from a high level, almost all, if not all of our functions, our biological functions are circadian driven, are like run on day night cycles. And so it's it's really just the way that our biology works. Is we're expected to be getting light in the morning. You know, you have that cortisol spike in the morning, gets us going, and then throughout the day, you know, that's the, I don't know how in the weeds to get, but our main our main circadian driver, our main like daytime signal is from that sky blue, that cyan color wavelength, around like 480 nanometers, and so it's I guess the best way to describe it, or maybe not the best way, but one of the ways to describe it is kind of look at the opposite. Is when you're inside all day and you're under fluorescent lights and you're just in buildings with no windows, like you just feel shitty.
Yeah.
And then you spend a day at the beach or you spend a day in the woods and like walk around in nature, and like, you know, the fresh air is a huge part of it for sure, but like the light is so much. Like our skin, our eyes, our whole body has photoreceptors, has all over and within, in our organs and our fat cells, just everywhere. Our body is designed to accept light of various wavelengths and drive our natural functions, from ATP production to you know, driving our alertness and awake states, and then like connecting that to the end of the day. It's like the light that you get during the day directly impacts how well you're sleeping at night. So if you're indoors and you're under these not very bright, flickery, shitty light environments, you're not going to be sleeping at your best. Whereas everyone has that feeling of, you know, you just spent a day in the garden, you're working outside, or, you know, doing whatever outside for the day, and you sleep great that night. And sure, part of it's the physical activity, part of it's the fresh air, but a lot of it is the light.
Amazing. Yeah. No, and by the way, like, feel free to nerd out if you want, and all like, I mean, I have a little bit of knowledge here, like, but not a ton. So if you go super deep, I'll try my best to like
No, I mean,
reframe it too.
That's probably like a thing where you know, a lot of this advice is this, you know, you're mentioning the melanopsin and your encephalopsin and like all of these different names that like sound really fancy, but when you just boil it down, it's like get sunlight, feel better, avoid burning, seek shade when you need to. It's like it's really simple at the end of the day. And then when you get into our devices, it's how do we reintroduce the key signals that your body needs to you know, get closer to thriving.
Cool. Yeah. No, gosh, that resonates a lot. And I was one of those people. I went so deep into that, and then I was like, it's so funny the amount of rabbit holes I've been down. Like, you know, I went down the functional blood work path. I went down this circadian biology path, and every time I come back out of that rabbit hole, and I'm like, oh man, it really is just get outside, move your body, eat good real food, and and just take care, you know, take care of your stress and relationships.
It's not that hard, but modern life just makes it seem like you're a crazy person for wanting to be outside.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and like you know, you're joking about the microplastics in your balls or whatever, and it's like, once again, it's like, okay, yeah, like that's a real thing in our environment, but once again, like, guess what? Sweating more, which can be done with exercise and getting out in the sun, improves that detoxification of those microplastics, right? So it's like, once again, it's like, even though that's true, what does it come back to? Eat real food, get outside, you know, treat your body well. Okay, so like, all right, let's you mentioned cortisol. I think that's one, especially in my world, on the health and fitness coaching side. We coach women over 40, and they're terrified of cortisol. So what is that cortisol-melatonin relationship, and how is it impacted by light? And, you know, you don't have to go super into it, but I feel like this is the best intro.
I mean, I think everything in biology exists for a reason, right? And so there's no mistakes. And so if you're it's even like just like taking out the hormones. If you go back to stress, right? Stress exists. Like that's a trait that exists, or a function that we have that prepares us for something, right? If you're stressed, your body is like ready to react, ready to do something, ready to focus. And so I think framing cortisol as a bad thing, or even framing stress like chronic stress. I'll say that's terrible. We're all like,
Yeah.
in general in society now, living in a state of chronic stress, which is just like deteriorating our health and like putting us, people are aging faster than ever. And so I think aligning your lifestyle, or like living in a state of abundance, living in a mindset of like, everything's going to be okay, everything's going to work out because, here I am and I'm making the choices here. And so, yeah, like that natural cortisol spike in the morning, that's preparing us for the day, that's getting us ready, we're waking up. You shouldn't sustain that throughout the day. If you're doing things, you shouldn't feel like a tiger is chasing you all the time. And then I guess on the other side, so in melatonin, there's, everyone thinks about melatonin as the sleep hormone, and that is true. But what a lot of people don't understand, or which is not really like common knowledge, is melatonin is primarily a daytime hormone. Like sunlight creates melatonin in our cells, which doesn't really leave our cells. It's kind of that intracellular melatonin, acts as a really strong antioxidant locally, both to combat the sun damage and whatever. And it's only a very small amount of melatonin that's produced in your pineal gland, like the circulating melatonin that is that sleep hormone. And so getting outside during the day, right, you are producing melatonin in your cells that's naturally keeping you in a less oxidative state, keeping you healthier overall. And then in the evenings, when the sun goes down and the light goes away, that is your body's signal to start ramping up that circulating melatonin production. And so that's what's calming you down, getting you ready for sleep, getting you ready to drift off and actually sleep deeply, have restorative sleep. I think sleep quality is probably, at least for me, and like when I talk to people, one of the most important like biomarkers for health. It's like if you're sleeping well, and you're having good, like, healthy bowel movements, right? Those are kind of right up there, and like if you get those things down, sleep is your main restorative time, your main time where you're healing and you're restoring and you're fighting disease and all of that. And then if your digestion's right, if you have those two things locked in, I don't think you need to get too crazy about like the blood work and all of the other things, unless you have some chronic issues, of course. Like there's a time and place. But for me, those are kind of the two main things. And personally, like I was sleeping really poorly before I discovered all of this and like really understood the importance of getting light during the day, and then the darkness at night. The darkness at night is a huge part of it. Like after sunset, we should not be having those overhead lights on. We shouldn't be exposed to these terribly bright lights, or if you are going to have light, you make it red, make it amber. And then, if you are going to look at a screen, use the blue blockers, like just, and it's just getting one step closer to nature. It's evolutionarily, like up until relatively recently, it was dark after sunset.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you get your body back to that state, you're sleeping better, you're waking up more refreshed. And then, on the morning side, right, you're getting outside as soon as you can in the mornings, seeing the sky, seeing the sun. Even on cloudy, overcast days, like get that sunlight.
Yeah. Okay, so, well, first and foremost, the melatonin thing is a shocker to people, because I think a lot of the times when people will see that my wife and I only use red, like incandescents after sunset around the house. And like there'll be a family picture of our daughter that goes out to the family, and people are like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And I'm like, these are, her grandma sleeps with the TV on every night, and I'm like, well, it's for sleep. And she's like, well, I fall asleep to the TV every night, and that's just fine. And that melatonin piece put a lot together for me, because that always did perplex me, that like seemingly people can fall asleep with the TV on and they don't really, in my opinion, they don't realize the deficit. And I think there's interesting literature around that we don't realize when we're sleep deprived. But then, so after I learned this, that like, hey, melatonin is so much more than just what puts you to sleep. It's an antioxidant in every cell of your body all the time. And that's what kind of put it together, that like people can get 8 hours, But if they have that TV on and these lights on and it suppresses melatonin production and they're not getting outside in the day, that they don't feel great even if they get 7-8 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, and I mean, there's really strong evidence that like light after night is increasing your rates of cancer, is increasing other disease across the board, and then like on the flip to that, the more light you're getting during the day, the more resilient you are to those disruptions in the evening. So I'm not saying go outside and then you're fine watching the TV right till you go to bed, but like
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, dude, the charts of, and I know it's not perfect correlation and it's observational. However, and if you're listening to this and you're curious, just like ask AI for a chart of this, like the charts of like cancer rates and things like that broken up by latitude and how close you are.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's the opposite of what the mainstream would have you thinking. You
Yes.
think sunlight is poison, the UV is giving you cancer. It's like that's actually the opposite of true if you look at the actual data.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that blew me away. And like, I mean, in America, you do hear a lot that. Can you still hear me? Okay. Okay. In America, you hear a lot about health issues in different races and ethnicities, and I don't know anything about this, but I would assume partially like the darker you are, if you're living in a higher latitude that doesn't get as much sun, that could be explaining a lot of that.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I also don't have the data, and I'm not going to pretend to, but
Yeah.
it goes back to the first principles reasoning of get back to nature. Like if your ancestors lived in a climate that was in the tropics where you're getting 8+ hours of sunlight during the day, and then you're moving to somewhere where you're not, or if you get really far up north and you have these periods where it's 24 hours of darkness, like not matching what your body's expecting.
Yeah. Love it. Okay, so brighter days, darker nights. It's important. I'm sure Matt could go into a lot more detail, but at the end of the day, yeah, it's basically every rhythm in your body. And another theme that I think pops up a lot, and I think this mirrors life in general, like everything is context, because bright light is great in the day, terrible at night. Dark night is great at night, terrible in the day, And if you think about it, it's kind of like emotions too. Like, there's no problem with an anxious state, right? If you're excited about something and you're moving it into action, it's like all these things, like you don't want to be super energized in the middle of the night, but you do want to be super energized in the day. And so if I'm thinking how we can kind of transition here to like practicality, because we can't all live outside and work outside. Some people work 9 to 5 in an office, and I think this is where Chroma comes in for sure, but also just some key cornerstone habits. Yeah, where should we go?
Well, I guess what you were just saying kind of made me think of like there's nuance to everything as well, right? And
Yeah.
it's your all your health influencers are telling you, not all of them, but many health influencers are telling you, blue light bad, right? And
Right.
That's very true at night, right? But
Yeah.
blue light good during the day.
Yeah.
And it's not
Yeah.
and really like we kind of separate blue light into two categories, into your light blue and your dark blue. So your light blue, that's more of your cyan, your sky blue, your 480 nanometer around there, where that's your main circadian driver. That's what's activating your melanopsin in your eyes and your skin, telling you it's daytime. And then you shift into that dark blue range around like 430 to 450-ish around there. And that's like the kind of blue that like your blue pixels are right now, that your screen's blue pixels are. And that's it's really a shame, because that's the if you look at the chart of blue light toxicity, or like your blue light hazard zone, that's right at the peak. And so so the blue light that you're getting from your screens is like right at the peak of the retinal hazard zone, where you're just causing damage. You're not engaging your circadian rhythm proportionately as much as you would be if the blue light that you're getting were shifted to like 480 nanometers.
Okay.
And then like on top of that, most of the illumination, like just standard LEDs, are like the spectrum is such that you also have a huge spike in that like 440, 450 range, and a big dip around the cyan like sky blue driver. So most light indoors, even if it feels quite bright, is understimulating you in the like the main circadian driver range, where it's overstimulating you in this range that you really want to be avoiding. And so the way that I look at, or the way that like Chroma looks at that in general, is we don't want to be delivering more of that harsh dark blue to you. And we really, like during the day, if you're wearing blue blockers, that's the only range that you really want to be cutting out. And so that's what our like golden glow do. We like selectively are filtering out that dark blue range. We're allowing some violet and allowing some cyan for your circadian rhythms. And then the same thing in the lights. We mirror that in our sky portal, where we have a huge output dip around the blue light hazard zone, and then peaks on either end of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's like essentially all the light we're getting from screens and household lighting is strongest in hold on, let me restate that. The screens we have and the household lights we have is a very narrow spectrum, meaning sunlight is full spectrum. Anywhere, so like Roy G. Biv, right? From growing up, from learning the color spectrum. That's visible light. And our household and screens are very concentrated in just a very sliver of that blue light, correct?
Yeah. So, and it's really just, it's nobody chose to do that. It just kind of happened to be this way because that's how LEDs were like the cheapest to produce, where you have a blue phosphor pump, which is just spitting out light there and then hitting some like yellow phosphors that almost fill in the rest of the like visible spectrum. But we're optimizing for brightness and not for like biological impact. And so we kind of take the opposite approach of like, I don't really care how bright perceptually the light is if your cells are being activated properly.
Yeah. Okay. So really the game is if we want to start making changes to what light we're exposed to indoors, the game is if we're going to limit blue, let's limit the blue that we're getting a ton of from screens and household lights, and let's ideally bring up the balance. Ideally all of it in the day, but particularly a big part of what we're missing is red and infrared. But I would assume all
all
of
of
it.
it. Like,
Okay.
I mean, if we're talking about like standard lighting, or there's almost no output in like the violet range below like 420 nanometers, which activates the opsins, another set of photoreceptors in your skin, in your eyes, that drive brain health, metabolism, thermogenesis. So it's just like just a whole nother array of biological functions that are chronically understimulated, that we're just not getting from indoor light, period. And then, yeah, exactly like you said, on the other end of the spectrum, most overhead lighting, most general lighting doesn't have very much red, like deep reds, and almost 0 to 0 near infrared, which again, drives your mitochondria, drives again a huge number of processes. And I think a lot of people almost dismiss red light, red and near infrared, because it seems so miraculous, right? It seems so much of a do everything. Like if there are studies from bone health to skin health to brain health to basically name an organ, and there's a dozen studies about how red and near infrared light supports that. And I mean, at least like the way I look at that is, if something is impacting your mitochondria, no wonder it's going to have such a wide range of effects, because that's like your main energy producer for your body, for your cells. And so it's not surprising that red light impacts almost everything in your body, because you have mitochondria everywhere in your body.
Yeah, that's I mean, that reminds me, like an equivalent of that in my world is collagen supplementation. You know, if you give collagen supplementation to an unhealthy population, they're not even getting enough protein to begin with. Now, I think collagen can be very cool. Like, I think it can make sense. But a lot of things will show up as this miracle thing. If you take a sick population, an average American who does not get outside and does not move their body, it's like, yeah, come up with some random fucking 3, 20, 40 treadmill protocol, and they're going to get a lot healthier and feel a lot better because they weren't moving before. So, like, of course, you know, no one's getting outside right now, so it makes sense. I mean,
dude, and even the like the standards for what healthy vitamin D is, or any mineral, any vitamin, like anything that's measured, the standards for that are adjusted over time based on the average of healthy population. And so, like our standards for what vitamin D is, God, I don't want to give an exact number, but it's something like 60% reduction over the last, since it's started being measured, is the standard of what's considered healthy. And so we're just like a chronically sick population that is redefining what healthy is to our chronically sick state.
That's such a problem. It's, oh God. We should talk about that vitamin D thing. Because I think this is the avenue. So someone listening to this that hasn't looked into a ton of like specific circadian stuff, they're like, well, yeah, vitamin D is really important, right? But it's my understanding that there are a couple things that vitamin D is deliberately helpful with in and of itself. But it's my understanding that we see, first and foremost, we see vitamin D levels correlate with like all-cause mortality, basically every disease known to mankind. However, what's interesting is if we only supplement, we don't get the broad spectrum lift on health that we would expect.
100%.
And,
oh, yeah. No, I mean, like
okay.
you can take a vitamin D pill and, you know, get your serum levels up and like pass the test.
Yeah.
But like that's totally different from the huge number of different like forms of vitamin D and different like sub processes that happen because of the sunlight with the vitamin. And so it's not identical. It's exactly like you're saying. Like there's one study, if I recall right, that showed zero impact on like bone health for vitamin D supplementation versus light derived vitamin D, where you're yeah, it's just a totally different thing. Like you can cheat the test by taking a pill and like raising your serum, but this is like vitamin D. It's I think it's best looked at as like a proxy for sunlight exposure.
Yes. Yeah. Which makes so much sense.
Right?
It's like that. It's the equivalent of, okay, this is how I think about it from my world. It's like doing a calf raise and being like, hey, we took everyone in the world and their calf strength is associated with all these improvements in your health. And it's like, okay, so should everyone just go train calves only and go home? It's like, no, it's because that's an indirect outcome of living an active, healthy life, lifting weights, building muscle, moving your body, and we're missing the forest for the trees with that. And so, I mean, because the vitamin D serum levels it's crazy. How much, I mean, you know, all of us during COVID, right? Like, we saw those numbers. And so there's so much, I imagine, is going on underneath the surface and from sunlight in general that we just are scratching the surface on.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, like, really, that's one of the easiest ones to solve. It's like, get outside during the day. You know, if your sun is, you know, it's rough. But if your shadow is shorter than you are tall, you're producing vitamin D.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, it's not terribly accurate, but it's like it's a good like rule of thumb. It's like if your shadow is longer than you are tall, you're probably not producing meaningful amounts of vitamin D, and then vice versa. So that's like if you're outside and you see your shadow is shorter than you are. Or shorter than you are tall. There's take your shirt off, right? Get some light on your skin. You know, that's it's really simple. And again, don't burn. Like people take things to extremes, right? When you say sunlight is good, they're like, all right, let's go outside all the day and turn into lobsters. But like nobody sane is telling you that. It's
Yeah.
seek shade when you need to, like listen to your body. The more time you are spending outside, the more resilient you're going to get to it. It's where you can spend hours out in the sun and not be burning, not have to use sunscreen or shade like ridiculously. So it's yeah, again, it's just get one step closer to nature. Like you were meant to be outside. If you spend most of your life inside, going from living indoor 9 to 5 to a week at the beach, that's a terrible idea. You're gonna burn. You're gonna have a bad time. But like ease into it the same way that you would like a workout. Like you're not going straight to the heaviest set of weights that you have there. You're progressive overload and just moving yourself up to what works for your body at that time.
Cool. Yeah, love it. Dude, it's insane where, you're on Twitter or X, like people just get so absurd and it's like I don't know. That's another conversation. But, okay. So, all right, this has been my understanding. You let me know if you think about it this way. Like we just talked about, it's so hard to understand all the different things that are going on when you're just getting natural light and sunlight and you're outside. There's so many different elements. Now, if we're going to try to combat a 9 to 5 and this modern lifestyle or winter for some people, it seems to me that like the best measurements of benefits we're getting can be kind of broken up into like UVA light, UVB light, and red and infrared light. Is that fair to say?
I would also add cyan into that.
Okay.
Like that sky blue, that daytime activator. So in the where do I start here? So in the beginning, when we were looking at how to solve the indoors, right? How to not feel shitty in the wintertime or not feel shitty when you're working all the time inside. It's one of the big drivers there is melanopsin and that's activated by that sky blue color by 480 nanometers. Cyan.
And can you melanopsin? Yeah. What are opsins? Sure. Just real quick, high level.
Yeah. So opsins are a class of proteins that accept photons and do things. And so that's everything from like rhodopsin in your eyes, which is like associated with vision, but you also have all of these other opsins that are sensitive to different ranges in the spectrum and have nothing to do with vision. So they're called your non-visual photoreceptors. And so melanopsin is your main circadian driver. That's your main daytime signal. When this is being stimulated, your circulating melatonin is suppressed, so you're not feeling sleepy, right? You're not feeling drowsy during the day if you're getting natural sunlight or supplementing that band. And so when we were first solving indoors, that was the focus. Is like let's reintroduce cyan and see what it does, right? And it was tremendously helpful. And so, if you're somebody who's like, actually my personal story here. So I grew up in Florida, never really thought about the sun, and then got up to Washington State, and geez, man, the winters are rough, right? And anyone who's lived, northern climate in general, like knows this viscerally. It's not a good time in the winters if you're not being very deliberate with your outside exposure, which is, again, it's really hard in the wintertime because it's drizzly, it's overcast, it's snowing, it's all these things that just make you want to be inside and live in the cave. So like me personally, I was having a rough winter and added in some cyan light, and 2-3 days, like immediate massive difference in how I'm feeling, motivation, sleep even, and it's like, all right, this is real, this is something. And then you dig into the research and it's extremely well supported, and so like our next addition to that was adding in some near infrared to balance that out, because in nature you're never getting just one band of light. Nature's always full spectrum. You're always getting, if you're getting a shorter wavelength, it's coupled with longer wavelength, red, near infrared. And then shorter, just for anyone, is on like the violet side of the spectrum, where the wavelength is literally like a shorter wave, whereas like the red, near infrared are longer wavelengths, and that's when you get into like people have probably heard like near infrared light like penetrates into your body or through your body even. And like partially that's just the physics of how it works, right? The waves are longer, so they're interacting with less stuff on average, and you can get into deeper structures, hit your mitochondria deep in your tissues, hit your bones, and then a lot of it even passes through you. And so, but on the shorter end of the spectrum, a lot of that is very surface level. Is absorbed at the surface or within a millimeter or two. And so I was talking about balance. So yeah, you're always balancing these spectrums in nature, and so that is kind of what we strive to do in our devices. Is if we're going to deliver light on the violet, near infrared, violet, UVA, UVB, even cyan side of the spectrum, we want that to be balanced with your deep reds, with some near infrared, as much as possible. So yeah, as far as the first thing that I would reach for when you're living in a northern climate and you're not feeling good, or you're spending your days inside and you're just not getting enough light, is supplementing your cyan band, and then your violet is has been we added violet into our Sky Portal a few years ago. That's our indoor workspace light supplement device, right? And so originally, like I said, it was just cyan near infrared, and we added the UVA in, or like right on the edge of UVA there, and massive improvements in our user reports, our customer reports, our personal experiences as a team. And so again, it's driving your circadian rhythm, and we're not getting back up to the levels of sunlight, but we're getting substantially more light than you would otherwise if you're not adding these things into your environment. And so that's really where like the biggest impact is. At first is just making sure your circadian rhythm is activated during the day, and then, as I mentioned before, avoiding those lights, like switching our Sky Portal goes to like a deep amber setting in the evenings, and then you can add in our blue blockers, turn off your other lights, use red incandescents, generally use that longer end of the wavelength to see your environment in the evenings, and don't stimulate your melanopsin or your other photoreceptors that are sensitive to the shorter wavelengths.
Hell yeah. Okay. And real quick, you were talking about outside of nature, you never get isolated wavelengths of light. And I think this is an important part for people to understand. Isn't it that this is why sunlight has been, or a reason why sunlight has been demonized, because people study people that are going and laying in a tanning bed that has just UV without any red, without any infrared. And yes, there are measurable problems with that. And then that kind of got extrapolated to UV sunlight bad.
Yeah. Oh, it's even worse than that. We're studying nocturnal animals. We're studying nocturnal animals like rats exposed to narrowband, UV. And, it's causing issues. And then we're, exactly like you said, we're extrapolating that back to a human model. And that just doesn't make any sense. If we're going... at least they could be balancing the spectrum with these studies, but also just doing studies on animals whose circadian systems are so different than ours, who are literally nocturnal animals, doesn't make any sense. So I think drawing conclusions on health from these studies is it's just a huge reach. And you can say it's supported in the scientific literature, but Zaid on Twitter is really he goes deep into this, and he explains it better than I could, honestly. And so I would actually recommend anyone listening to this to go check out his Twitter profile and read some of his Substack articles. He really breaks it down in a very digestible way, I'd say. But yeah, no, exactly like you said. If you're getting UV in nature, like I am right now outside midday here, it's balanced with red, near infrared, and then obviously the whole rest of the spectrum.
Yeah.
It's not just that it's there. It's our body is ready for that, and our body is producing that melatonin in the cells to immediately counteract the any of the oxidative stress or the damage that's happening And then you have other pathways or other systems that are also activated by other ends of the spectrum, or other parts of the spectrum that are actively repairing UV damage, that are moving melanin above your cell nucleuses to actively shield from the UV exposure. So it's just this, like, our system is built for this, and if you're studying it in isolation, it doesn't make a lot of sense to apply to like a human model of what you would be experiencing in nature.
Yeah. Gosh, it's really. I'll throw. Is it pronounced Zaid? Zaid, Zaid. I don't know.
You're pushing me there. Zaid or Zaid?
In my head, I've always said Zaid, but you said that, and I was like, oh, I was probably totally wrong on that, but I don't know. I'll throw it below.
Too. Okay. Yeah.
I'll throw it below. Yeah, we'll tag him. The easiest. But the funny part is, like, or not the funny part. Looking into his stuff and deeper into, like, the full spectrum here of sunlight and what you were talking about, the balancing effects. Like, if you looked at one wave of light, you could say, oh, that's going to increase your blood pressure, so that's bad. But it's like, well, no, in full spectrum sun, you're getting vasodilation because of other wavelengths. And so they all work so intricately and beautifully that it's so cool.
I mean, even studies on, like, just one band of red are kind of almost misleading, where it's like 660 nanometers is studied to do XYZ, but that doesn't mean that 670, 60, like other reds are not doing the same thing, or that just because X was studied for Y, it doesn't also do Z, or vice versa. And it's like nature in general works on bell curves, right? And so. And LEDs, right, also emit bell curves. So if you're looking at a 660 nanometer LED versus a 670 nanometer LED, and in your head imagining that these are like two different things, like your 660 nanometer is emitting 670, and your 670 is emitting 660, and it's just like a slightly different proportion there. But again, like in nature, it's a wide band. You're getting the whole range of red and near infrared all at once. And so that is even like in our Iron Forge device, which is our like high powered red near infrared device, and even in the Trinity to a deeper extent, even we are as wide band as we can be, where we have multiple emitters that are, again, each diode is a bell curve emission spectrum, and so we're just trying to match nature as much as we can in both spectrum and I mean, I'd say intensity in a way. That's another rabbit hole. There is like so your body really doesn't care how quickly light is delivered to it to a point. And so we describe our high power devices as like time compressed sunlight, if you will. And so it's like if you have 10 milliwatts per centimeter squared, like that's your power, and if you have something that is 5 times stronger than that, if you have your weaker one delivered for 5 times the duration, right, your biological response is roughly equivalent between those things. And so it more or less acts, or seems to act from the literature, like a photon counter. Like you have studies. I was digging into this recently, actually, where the range of intensity in light therapy and time in light therapy on positive studies spans over 6 orders of magnitude. So that's insane. That's from less than a second of like sunlight equivalent exposure to 10 hours of something like significantly stronger than that. And we're seeing efficacy across the whole range of spectrum. So it's like, light is good for you. Don't overthink it. Just be consistent. Use your device. Use it to the point where you're feeling things. Don't exceed that by too much. But like also, the biology is very forgiving in that regard. Is if you're 10x off, you're still likely in the range of at least studied positive effects of these things.
Yeah, that's something I definitely want to talk about, like as far as the lower end too, because like, in the day and age of Alibaba and Amazon and things like that, everybody, I mean, I feel like everyone has heard of red light therapy. And but yeah, let's maybe we'll revisit that in a little bit, because right now I want to, like, okay, so let's say, all right, I'm doing what I can. I get outside, like, get outside as much as you can. Now, don't kill yourself over it. Like, beyond that point, what, like, all right, you have, I mean, I'm a loyal Chroma fan. I have a lot of your products, but like, what would you say would be square one for someone that maybe, let's say they can get out for a 10 to 30 minute walk in the morning and in the evenings. And so, like, but that's kind of, anything beyond that would be stretching it. They got kids, they work inside. What would kind of be your first recommendation as far as light therapy goes to supplement?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the thing that person is going to get the biggest impact from, is going to notice, the most, would be adding like one of our Sky Portal devices to their workspace. It's again, it's bringing back that the key bands of your daylight stimulation back into your room, back into your office, connecting, where you're working closer to like a natural light environment. And I think that is where the average person, or the average person who you described, who's, even making attempts to get outside in the morning, get outside for their lunch breaks, like doing as much as they can, they're going to see that massive lift in both their like focus and motivation and mood and all of that during the day, and then sleep during the night, just by getting that daylight stimulation back into their workspace.
Cool. And yeah, for those listening, it's I use mine as I have it on right now. I use it as my Zoom light, or like my desk light, and it's basically like a 12-inch?
Yeah, like 12, 13. Yeah.
It's like a 12, 13-inch circle that you just attach to your desk, and it just hits you. But it's not a cheap ring light that you buy on Amazon. It's full spectrum, like all the benefits you've been talking about.
Flicker free too is a big one. Is like a lot of, almost every light that you're purchasing, even a lot of them that claim to be flicker free, are flickering. Are either flickering, at the worst case, you have that like 120 hertz flicker, like your wall power is like 120 hertz in the US at least. And so a lot of lights that are just driven directly with AC have like a very visible, like once you spot it, you can see it anywhere kind of flicker. But even a lot of lights that claim to be flicker free are really just using high frequency like PWM flickering, which is up in like the thousands of hertz, or even tens of thousands of hertz range. And it's just like a cheaper, easier way to drive LEDs. And so, which again, like you at those higher frequencies, you're not visually perceiving the flicker, but it's impacting you neurologically. Like you're absolutely going to feel better under a light that is not flickering like the sun, versus something like that is just stimulating you in the background. Even that's kind of how I frame the like the Sky Portal in general, or we're working on some overhead lighting right now and screwing bulbs, that kind of thing. Is just correcting the background signal that you're under on exposed to all day makes such a huge difference that most people wouldn't even imagine.
Dude, that flicker thing, if you haven't heard of this, just Google or search. I mean, if you take a video of like your phone screen and slow it way down, it's a strobe light.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like that's essentially what you're looking at. Yes. Like a strobe light.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Same thing for most overheads. For like, do it in your house right now. Everyone has slow motion on their cameras right now.
Oh yeah.
Shine your camera at your lights, and like you're gonna be amazed at what you see. And that's not even showing you. I mean, the flicker is a huge component. The spectrum we were talking about earlier is a huge component. And you solve both of these things, and just life gets a lot better. Nice.
Yeah, I definitely, and we'll keep talking about other options here, but I have a regular monitor and a regular MacBook, so I those are obviously flickering. But
again, like,
we were,
and so I mean,
go ahead.
I'll sorry, I cut you off there, but the
no, you're good.
So the spectrum of like our Sky Portal, for example, is also kind of a double whammy, where you're reintroducing this good light. But that cyan signal, melanopsin, is also the main driver of like your pupil constriction or dilation. And so just by introducing more of that into your environment, your eyes are constricting a little bit and you're allowing less of that harsh dark blue flickery light from your screen into your brain, into your eyes. So it almost in a way acts as blue blockers just by having more beneficial light in your face.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. I should have had these on before we got on, but I have my golden glows right here.
No, you're good. I mean, like it's great if you're working at a screen all day. Again, selectively blocking out the dark blue, but you have your sky portals functioning right there with you, and so you're already 3/4 of the way there, right?
Yeah, love it. Cool. Yeah, dude, I love this thing. And it's so nice, especially just as replacing your zoom light. Like, it's perfect. Yeah. Okay, so then where do we go next? I mean, you've got what would be step 2 maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I guess step 2 for someone who's in, I don't know how to frame it. For someone who's in like starting to take all this stuff really seriously and is like, you're already aware of the impact that light has on your body. I guess I'll go to like our most powerful tool, our most unique thing that we make, and the most powerful, light supplement for your body that you could have, is our Trinity device, really, which has 3 different modes, right? We have our red and near infrared mode for red light therapy benefits across the board, and then we have that separated into a daylight mode that, again, reintroduces that daytime stimulation into your life in a time-compressed manner, and then UVB, again, as its own mode. And so when you're spending most of your time inside, even if you're supplementing your light like you are with your sky portals, you're still, like I said, we're not approaching outdoor levels of light exposure. And so the idea with our Trinity device is reintroduce these key wavelengths again in amounts that are meaningful in a relatively short period of time. So like a 3 to 5 to 10 minute session all over your body with this thing is delivering equivalents of like 45 minutes to a few hours worth of daytime light exposure back to your body. And so people are reporting massive improvements in sleep after just a day or two of incorporating this during the day. Massive improvements in their focus and their mood, and it's not surprising because it's you feel so good when you're outside during the day and when you can spend as much of your time as possible in natural light. And if you can't do that and then you start supplementing it, like it's night and day.
Yeah, dude. I have a Trinity here. Oh my God, it got here like dead winter for me, and oh my God, it was because another factor here is if you're above what, the middle of the U.S. ish in the winter, your window and availability of UV light, even if it was warm enough for you to go lay outside naked, is pretty low, right?
Oh yeah,
like almost zero.
Zero in a lot of cases.
Okay, yeah. So, that's been a game changer.
In Washington, for example, Washington State, and I guess it's similar latitude to DC, but you have what is it, like 2, almost 3 months where the sun is just not high enough in the sky, where you have too much UVB blocked to be making vitamin D naturally, and there's a lot of nuance around this, and there's a lot of different ways that you can argue, like maybe your body is not supposed to be getting this in the wintertime, and maybe it's best to be storing it up during the summer and have it during the winter. But I think that also ties back to living naturally. And so if you're someone who's living outside and getting your cold exposure in the winter and like eating seasonally and all of that, maybe it's, and like to the extreme, maybe it is better to avoid UVB during the wintertime. But if you're like 99+% of modern humans who are still living inside, you're still working at your office, like your diet and your daily routine doesn't change that much during the winter. At least my take is supplementing vitamin D or supplementing UVB is and the rest of the daytime spectrum really is incredibly important.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, dude. It's like, I mean, because that line of, I feel like a lot of people will then be like, well, none of this, no studies apply at all because, they're measured in, a modern lifestyle. And it's like, okay, well, most of us are not going to be able to get up and move and live outside. So in the context of our lives, measuring things the way we do has utility. And, that's one that, because it's like, I don't know, I'm spitballing here, but I want to say that if you go measure like the Hadza or other Aboriginal tribes and stuff, they do have way higher cholesterol than us.
Sure,
and they have lower heart disease.
That's like artificially demonized in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, let's not cherry pick one thing about them and apply it in our environment once again, because it's like, all these are such moving parts.
They're outside moving around. They're in the sunlight.
Right.
They're eating extremely locally. They're not getting bananas shipped in from Mexico up in New York City. Like,
right.
It's a classic example of anti-circadian eating. And so but like it's unless you're extremely diligent with your eating, it's very hard to eat locally or purely locally nowadays. And especially because our food system doesn't support that in a lot of areas in the country. Like, there are no farmers markets in a lot of towns. There's no not everybody has their vegetable garden. Not everyone has their tubers, and they're doing your preservation. So again, it's like in modern life, we're eating a more mixed diet in general. And so I think matching your light exposure to what you're eating is important. And again, when you're down in the tropics, right, you got all these delicious fruits and mangoes and bananas and everything growing all year long. And your UV index is also pretty high all year long. And the food that you're eating is grown under the same light that you're in. And so there's this biological match that, when you're shipping bananas up north, that match isn't there naturally. And so if you're going to be eating these things anyway, or if you're eating like a modern human eats, or even trying your best to eat locally, I still think matching your food to your light is important, and that's where the supplementation comes in.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, makes sense. Cool. And so the Trinity is really, full spectrum basically in a handheld device, or as close as you could possibly get to it. But the cool thing I love.
Oh, sorry, man.
Go ahead.
I guess full spectrum is kind of another one of those words that doesn't really have a great definition.
Yeah.
It's used in marketing a lot, and it doesn't have like a good solid definition where if something is full spectrum, you know that it's XYZ. In reality, we have constraints. There's only so much power we can cram through that thing. There's only so much power we can put through our Sky portals or like any of our devices. And so how we choose to allocate that is important. Is we're putting power where your biology is expecting it and really needs it the most. And we're not putting power where we're already overstimulated or where we're already getting a lot. Like, all of our devices have very low, if not zero, output around that blue light hazard zone, because we're already exposed to it quite a bit. And I mean, even so, I'm on a little tangent here, but like one of our customers with a Sky portal, and we'll release some measurements here too. But we're measuring like their Sky portal independently, and then Sky portal plus their screen. And when you add your Sky portal plus your screen, the total like spectrum between those two things is a lot closer to sunlight than you would by just having like an arguably like full spectrum thing shining at you, because we're not delivering that dark blue, but your screen is. And so when you add these things together, your spectrum is really flat.
I love it. Yeah, makes sense. So much, right? Nuance and context, right?
Always. There's so much.
Well, and just to, I meant to bring this up earlier, just to give people an idea here, because it's kind of hard to comprehend. Like, obviously the sun is fucking bright, but like, isn't it, if we talk about lux, like the measure of brightness of light, like a typical office environment or home environment compared to midday sun, isn't it a magnitude of like 10x
Oh, more than that. It's like 1,000.
or 1,000x? Yeah.
It's
Okay.
huge. It's
Okay.
insane. Yeah, I mean it's like somewhere around 1,000x or more difference between indoors and outdoors during the day, and then like on the flip side, most like standard lit homes in the evening are like 100 times brighter than it would be outside. So you just have this mismatch during the day where you're way too dim when you're inside, and then you're way too bright in the evenings inside. Which is just yanking our circadian rhythm in just the opposite direction that you should be pulling it in.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like at the end of the day, it just leads to a lack, like what I call wired and tired. It's a lack. You're always kind of too stimulated and too tired. Like you're too stimulated when you want to be tired, and you're too tired when you want to be stimulated.
Oh, yeah.
And that's signaling. That's what it is, right?
Sure.
And
you're
so
sleeping poor because of that, and you're waking up
Yeah.
not well rested, and the whole cycle just compounds and like, yeah, it just gets worse and worse over time. And because you're feeling so exhausted when you're waking up, you're not feeling motivated to like get outside and move your body around, and so it just compounds even deeper.
Yeah. Oh, it's ruthless. Well, yeah, and that, I mean, time compressed sunlight. That is another thing I was curious about because, I mean, my wife's friends are like, hey, like, should I get this red light mask for my skin? And I think the biggest eye opener for me, because I had been like looking around, there's so many options. Like, if we just talk about, well, real quick, I want to highlight to people listening, like you said already a couple times, red light, infrared light, sunlight, full spectrum light, whatever it is, has so many different benefits. But like one of the coolest ones I share, that's a little bit more direct, is like, for instance, everyone's talking about blood sugar. Like, oh, what should you eat to control your blood sugar? And there's studies that took just red and infrared light, or maybe just red, and threw it on people's shoulders for a little bit before or after they ate, and their blood sugar response was like cut in half, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's dramatic. That was
It's
a
like
great
insane.
study, fairly recent study too, and like not very intense light, not very long exposure, but it just leads you back to nature. It's like we should be eating outside, and if you're eating outside, the impact your blood sugar is better, your metabolism is more functional. And through many different pathways, like the metabolism aspect is up more on the shorter end, where the blood sugar impact from that study at least was shown on the like the deep red area. No, absolutely.
Well, and a big one is thyroid too. Like there's starting to be, of course, this is where it's just like, after I dove into this stuff, you start hearing about these studies and you're like, yeah, I'm not surprised at all. Like, but I think the thyroid angle is really cool too. Like there's some red light therapy in hypothyroid patients that is incredibly helpful for thyroid function. And we also know that if you have like pretty bad hypothyroidism, your resting metabolic rate can be like a few hundred calories lower per day. And it might be plus or minus, but like for a female that, has maintaining between 1,500 and 2,000 calories a day, a couple hundred calories, like it's not always that extreme, but there's just endless applications here where it can be so helpful. But that being said, the intensity, like when I started looking at Chroma, it was like not even fucking close to these other. And I will say, when I first found you, I saw that it was like a handheld, like your red light, the Trinity, they're handheld devices. And I was like, well, these other ones are like these big panels that I could just sit in front of. But then after like looking at the numbers on like the intensity and things, it was like, oh, I can get a 30-minute session that I would get from one of these big panels in like 3 to 5 minutes with Chroma's devices. So less. Okay. Like it's not even close, right?
No, I mean, the compared to like an average panel at the distance they tell you to use them to, it's like 90 seconds in one area with our device is roughly equivalent to about 2 hours.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then of
Yeah.
course, there's a lot of people who are afraid of large numbers, right? Where like you see,
Right.
800 plus, milliwatts per centimeter squared output at the faceplate, and it's like, that's really high, man. But then again, like you look at the studies and it's not like out of the range of things that have been studied. A lot of things are even higher than that. But again, if you're afraid of that, or if I don't want to project fear onto people, but if you don't want that high intensity, distance is your friend, right? Light spreads out by dramatically with the inverse square law. So for every doubling of distance, your intensity at a single point reduces by about 4x, four times. And then, of course, the treatment area or the exposure area is expanded by about that same proportion. So if you don't want that high intensity for whatever reason, pull the device off a few inches, and you're exposing a larger area at a lower intensity.
Perfect. Yeah. What, when would you recommend, you think, I mean, you said this a little bit ago, like the Trinity, are there things that jump out beyond just like, ooh, I want to optimize this further? Or are there certain like conditions or injuries or anything like that where you would be like, yeah, I think it might make sense to get a device like this instead of just trying to get outside for walking?
Yeah. So, I mean, originally the Iron Forge was developed after a climbing injury, where with some pulley issues, and so there was really just nothing. There is nothing really else on the market that can get a lot of power into one area of the body right where you want it in a relatively short amount of time. You can wave your hand in front of like a panel, or go outside for hours, but if you have a place on your body that you want that needs a little extra help, right? This is where a targeted high-powered device like ours comes in handy, is where you can really put the light where your body needs it and not have to dedicate half hour, 40 minutes, an hour plus to just getting the light that you need.
Cool. Yeah. Love it, dude.
And then, I mean, even on the other side, where it's just like a general wellness addition, it's that same thing. As if you're sweeping this thing over your body, both because of the high intensity, you're hitting deeper structures in your body, and then also like the equivalency there, just a relatively short sweeping session over your body is a lot quicker, and in a lot of times a lot more effective than standing outside or standing in a panel. And obviously, like we have this in all of our packaging. It's like we're not trying to replace the sun. The sun is what you want to be getting. Nothing replaces the sun. If you were trying to get the intensity of the sun in your room, like it would be incredibly hot. Like both because of the inefficiency of the LEDs and the amount of power that you'd have to be dumping in. And so, yeah, none of our devices replace the sun. Like that is always the first thing that we'd recommend, is if you're starting at square one and you're trying to put your body in that rest and relaxation, like back into a state of recovery and healing. It's like, get outside. That's number one. If you can't do that, like start to supplement with devices.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Well, it's just so funny, right? Like it's like inherently, I mean, it's the fucking sun. Like there's no, it's just like, as you're explaining, as much as you can add, like we're still trying to replicate this thing that's giving all the energy to this planet that's been around for billions of years. Like obviously, I'm really curious, but if it's too early, no worries if there's not much to share, but you mentioned like some new things in the works, like screw in lights and things like that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's been like a huge request from our customers, is just the Sky Portal is excellent because it fixes one area of your house. It fixes your workspace, and it's really only made for one person, right? Like,
yeah.
And so it's how do we correct the background signal in the rest of your living environment? How do you have like easy access to like a red or an amber light in any room of your house in the evenings? And so what we're working on is a 3-channel bulb that will screw-in bulbs that will have white for during the day, and not just white. It's going to be a similar spectrum to somewhere in so our sky portal, you can adjust between our like daytime white and our deep amber settings, like adjust that ratio. And so the white that we're choosing for these bulbs is somewhere within that ratio where we're balancing your daytime energy with your evening energy. And so it's again, it's just a more balanced daytime spectrum during the day that puts the limited power that we can pull through these outlets or even into these electronics in that form factor where your body is expecting it and where your body needs it, balancing it with the deep red and a touch of near infrared. So that would be like the daytime mode in these. And then you have our deep amber. It'll be the same spectrum as the amber in your sky portal for the amber, and then just a pure deep red channel for the evenings. Really easily adjustable. Like there's a handful of products out there that like at the wall where you can switch them and switch between different modes. So that's the control like method that we're using with those. And then something else that people are really excited for are fluorescent tube replacements. We're working on just drop-in solutions for those, for like if you have an office building, if you have an older house that has these around or in your kitchen or whatever. Just a simple pop-in replacement for your fluorescents that again fixes the spectrum. Those, at least initially, will just be just our daytime spectrums. Across the board, just trying to make it easier to make your background environment less detrimental to you.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
And then I guess it's worth touching on our Sky Light device, which is our massive floor standing, upward facing lamp that puts out a ton of power. That one's more for like a larger room, right? Where the sky portal's for one person and a desk, the skylight is more for like a living room or like a whole room type where you want to, it's more focused on, I'd say where all of our other devices are more about more focused on biology and like your biological impact. The skylight is really focused on illumination. So we're focusing on matching that daytime white spectrum to the sun, like the spectral similarity of our white channel in that lamp versus the sun is very close. We have a long form article on our website that goes into that more. But that's our first like illumination device, and that's kind of the category that we're putting in these screw-in bulbs into, where you're sure it is deep red, and that is like in the range of like a lot of the photobiomodulation research, like the red light therapy research, but at the intensity that you're getting at the reasonable distance, it's more about illumination and just providing a better way to light your environment in the evenings and during the daytime than it is like the more functional, like almost utilitarian way that the sky portal is designed.
Yeah, beautiful. Awesome, man. Well, I'm stoked about that. The screw-in ones. That's awesome. I'm definitely going to snag those. I've loved it. I mean, dude, and I just got to say, like, the quality is so, I mean, for people listening, if you're curious, like, the quality is incredible, which I really appreciate. Definitely coming back for life. And, just to tie this back to this podcast in general, I mean, because this can easily become a very optimizing conversation. Optimizing my light environment is one of the best ways I've found to just quiet my mind every day. Like we've talked about the health benefits, blood sugar, energy, but when you're inside without that morning walk and you've just been in that artificial light, it's just, things get so loud and you just feel so much more grounded with the light dialed in. So,
it's that background signal that you, until you realize how big of an impact it has, you don't think about it at all. And then once you can't unsee that, you can't unfeel it. You walk into a supermarket or some other just building, and you just immediately feel off, and you feel this is not what my body wants.
Yeah. Yeah, the gym I have here, like I love using a stair stepper for like interval work, and the stair steppers are upstairs and they're right underneath like a freaking full tube fluorescent and I'm just like, and like this is where I think people get way too neurotic, because like people online will literally be saying like you're better off not exercising than exercising under fluorescent light, and I'm just like, all right, come on, like exercise is good for you even if it's under fluorescent light. But I've been mixing in kettlebells and just getting in the backyard because it feels so good.
Oh yeah,
like it's amazing. Yeah,
and I mean honestly, I'm more in the camp of work out outside, move your body around outside. I'm not going to say it's not beneficial to be working out in a gym, but gym lighting could be a lot better.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I know. Like when I'm in there, I'm just like, ugh.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's just across the board. Like light is just, it's something that you're not thinking about, that the building designers are not thinking about, that like, it's like zoos think about the light that their animals are under so much more than any building. Like we have specs for the light that each animal's climate or each animal's enclosure should have. And like you go to an office or you go to any modern building and it's just like, yep, what makes the space just bright enough to be able to see?
That's fascinating. That is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Like our entire population is working indoors, but yeah, wow. Yeah, I mean, and the outdoor workouts, bang for your buck too, right? Just get both at the same time. Mm-hmm. Well, awesome, man. Really appreciate you coming on. I could throw Chroma's website below. Anything else you want to point people towards if they're interested? Like, do you have any introductory guides to like learn more about you guys or anything like that? Articles or?
Yeah, we've been putting more effort into making like high quality, relatively short articles on the website under like our Learn section. So I'd say check those out. Find a title that interests you, and a lot of good info there. We're putting more effort into putting out actionable advice and just like really condensed to the point articles more consistently now. So those will just grow over time. But that's really like if you're someone who's a skeptic on these things, which even I started out as that way, the more you learn and the more you understand that like this isn't speculation, this isn't like woo-woo nonsense, this is very real biology, this is very real, just the way that you should be living. So yeah, start to read, start to understand what you're exposing yourself to now and how changing your light environment can impact the rest of your life.
Amazing. Love it. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
See you all next week.